Hi, I'm Debbie Nelson with Nixene Publishing. I am the contributing editor and project manager here in the United States, coming to you from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I am working with Adrian Nixon, who is coming to us from Yorkshire, England today. He's the editor-in-chief of the Nixene Journal. Hi, Adrian. How are you today?
I'm very well, Debbie. How are you?
I'm doing well. And I'm really curious about our next topic in this series about graphene because this has an interesting title to it. We've got a new superlative for graphene just within the last year, I believe, right?
Last few months. Yeah.
Oh, well. So this is fatigue resistance.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that you will be able to give us a fantastic description so that we can all come away going, I get it.
Fine. I should just say for the viewers that we're recording this at the end of June in 2020. So we're still sitting down at the minute. And this is just a few months old. I need to go back to my little molecular model again that you're familiar with, graphene. So we got carbon atoms linked together by bonds, and graphene is this flat, one atom thick chicken wire material. The thing that's been discovered about it, as well as being 200 times stronger than steel, world's best conductor of electricity, world's best conductor of heat, world's best of all sorts of things, there's a new world's best. And this is what was discovered a few months ago. So it's now the world's most fatigue-resistant material. Oh. Yeah, I know it sounds a bit obscure, doesn't it? What fatigue resistance in this context means is it's how much you can bend it before it breaks. So if you can imagine if I had a paperclip in my hand, in fact, anybody could try this at home. Just get a paperclip in your hand, unravel it, and then if you just bend it backwards and forwards a few times, then all of a sudden you do the Uri Geller thing, for those of you who are old enough to remember him, and it snaps. And what was going on there is that every time you bend it, you're getting more little micro cracks. And eventually these cracks then propagate throughout the whole material until all of a sudden the material fails and falls apart. And that's called fatigue resistance, how long something takes. So we probably get maybe, 5-10 bends of a paperclip before it breaks, something like that. I should have tried it, but I don't like destroying things. I prefer to create things. So we'll just go with a guess. I'm sure the viewers will tell us. The thing that's been discovered about graphene is that they've run tests looking to see how many times you have to do that. Now, they didn't quite grab hold of graphene and do it like that because it's impossible to grab hold of a one atom thick sheet of material down at this nanoscale, because I don't have nanoscale hands. I've got classical world hands, not quantum world hands. So what they actually did was they laid the graphene over a hull, and then they got something called an atomic force microscope, which is, for our purposes, we can think of as a very expensive pointy stick which can prod the graphene. And as the graphene's laid over the hull, they've prodded it like that to create this effect. And then the thing about this atomic force microscope, the modification, they could measure how many times they were prodding it. So if you remember, it took us probably about maybe 10 times, if we did that with a paperclip and put something on there and have it bounce back, maybe 10, 100 or so times with strong metals perhaps before they'd fail. With graphene, they found something different. And for that, I'll need to share my screen. So we go to the usual blank screen again, which you should be able to see, Debbie. Yep.
It's all set.
Good. And so this is the new superlative for graphene. It is the most fatigue-resistant material known. And so what they've done here, this shows you how the experiment was done. It was done at Rice University and the University of Toronto. This is the atomic force microscope, and I've just simplified it to show how it was modified. So here we've got an oscillator. It's a piezoelectric oscillator, for those that are interested. And we have a sharp point here, which pokes the graphene layer, which is laid over a circular hole drilled into a silicon substrate. And so you can imagine this is a cross section through a cylinder that's been drilled, a cylindrical hole that's been drilled, and then graphene's laid over the top. And the sizes here, this is 2,500 nanometers, 2.5 microns, and then 600 nanometers deep. And what they've done is they've arranged things so this oscillator here goes up and down. and it goes up and down at 100,000 cycles per second. And what they've done here is they actually monitored the performance of this oscillation here. So they can take a readout and they can measure the stresses, and they can also measure the number of cycles. So it's the number of cycles it takes to go up and down and back again. And that's one cycle there. And they finally found it fractured after 3 hours. And that means it took more than 1 billion cycles to actually break the graphene, which is staggering.
That's incredible, and it's stayed consistent like that.
Yep.
Until it finally broke.
Yep, and they repeated this. It wasn't just a one-off. What was going on here is they just prod it, and it's like jumping up and down on a trampoline, and you keep on jumping until eventually, bang, the trampoline breaks, and it goes boom, and that's roughly what was going on. But it took 1 billion jumps before it actually failed, and these are the stresses that it was subjected to. So, yeah, a mean stress of 71 gigapascals and a stress range of 5.6 gigapascals. Those numbers probably won't mean much, but that is a lot. And it just goes to show that there is no other material that can compete with this. So graphene is the most fatigue-resistant material ever tested.
That's absolutely incredible. Now, is this the one that's compared to how the wall of glass, that's how thick the wall?
That's something else that has been discovered. And
Okay.
so for that, we'll have to have a whole other video to do that.
I'll have to save that one. Thank you so much for explaining this to us. This is, like we said, graphene never stops surprising us. You know, Andre Geim said when he was talking with you that there's enough to discover with graphene and 2D materials to keep current researchers busy for the rest of their lives. Incredible. Well, keep tuning in, everyone, and tell your friends. Thank you so much for your time, Adrian. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Debbie. Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.